What's up, gang? Hope you're doing well. One of our favorite channels that we watch, The Film Room. They just put out another video. You guys asked me actually to do this a few days ago, but especially with the small, I say smaller channel, but they're 78,000. But I just mean the channels that aren't like millions of subscribers. I try to like give the video grace first. I don't want to take the video and then people will come to my channel to see it first time rather than theirs. So I always try to give it a few days. So we were always going to get to this one. But this is, are you watching basketball the right way? Let's see. I think this topic's interesting because I'm wanting to do a video and people have been asking me a lot. I should show you how I break down film or what I'm looking for. So I will be doing a video on that, but then I saw their video. So it'll be interesting to see.
To the film room. What I'm going to do in this video is take you through the first 4 minutes of the Wofford-Wichita State game and give you some tips and tricks of how to watch the game of basketball. So whether you're a player or a parent of a player or a coach or just a fan of basketball, I'm going to show you some things that I look for specifically every time I watch the game of basketball that I think can help you.
I wonder if he'll say this. First play of the game, I'm not typically looking too deeply into like, ooh, what actions are they running and what play are they, like watch the first play and that'll tell you the play that they're running halfway through the game. Usually teams will run an offensive set early on just for a specific look, specific action, but it's not typically their offense. But defensively, you can watch defense very early on and see what their concepts are and what they're willing to guard, how they're guarding certain things. So that will generally tell you, that will generally guide what offensive play you call. So if you've done scouting on a team, so I don't know which team is who, I'm assuming Wichita State is in the white because I'm assuming they'd be home. So Wofford right here, defensively, if you've scouted them and said, hey, they like to trail off ball screens, they don't like to switch. So let's run a play that runs someone off of 2 or 3 off ball screens for a curl and a layup. I think that's what happened if I can remember.
So anytime that you're watching a game, one of the first things that you need to pay attention to is whether a team is running zone,
defense,
or man, because it determines how the flow of the game is going to go. And it looks like by the way that they're guarding the basketball that it's man. And then if you look down here, you can tell that everyone is matched up. So Wofford is in a man.
Yeah, so we talked about running off a couple screens. So I think they run this player off next. Right, so let's see how they run screen. So he shortcuts it.
Man to man. Now, as far as offensive strategy.
And now he runs off a double. So you can, depending on how you think they're going to guard your off-ball screens, yeah, you might try to get an easy bucket here.
Geez, there's primarily 4 different.
Yeah, so they don't switch. They keep the bigs on the bigs. So one of these would have been open because they don't want to switch this at all. So you know that the curl is going to be open or the big popping up if he would have switched out on that. So typically, teams that are really well coached will have a first play that's like typically designed against that team. Or if you have a really good player, Cooper Flag at Duke, like you just run your first play to him just to get him going.
Ways that teams play in modern day basketball. Now, this doesn't mean that you'll never see anything else, but primarily you're going to see teams who either run heavy ball screen or pick and roll continuity offenses. Something that's become very popular recently is Princeton concepts, which involved a lot of split actions and dribble handoffs, and you'll see some of those things in this game. Some teams lean heavy into motion, which is free-flowing off-ball screens and cutting. And the last offense that you'll see is a lot of isolation game, which can...
I'm never subscribed to this guy. Made a spelling mistake here. Get rid of him. Who is he?
Can either happen in the post if they have a really good post player or on the perimeter if they think that they can take advantage of slower defenders. So if you're watching a basketball game and the defense is playing man, try and see if you can recognize any of these patterns in the team's offense. Now, as we look at the first possession of Wofford's offense, you can see that Wichita State is also playing man-to-man. So with both of these teams, we can try and identify which one of these 4 concepts they like to incorporate into their...
So I'm assuming this is what Princeton and motion, is he going to say?
Offense. Now, one of the most important aspects of the game of basketball that can get overlooked by a lot of people is 2 things. Number 1, how well do teams contest jump shots? And the second is how well do they box out and what happens in the rebound portion of the game. So when shots go up, you should see if they're being contested and what the rebound battle looks like, because oftentimes that's where the games are won and lost. The next key that you should pay attention to is whether teams are playing heavy in transition or in the half court.
This is interesting because I said this to I'm going to do a video with one of my friends where he does a lot of video breakdowns, but me and him look at the game. We look for completely different things, like the things that we look for first. I'm far more on the player focused side. So player tendencies, just pattern recognition sort of stuff. It's just kind of more natural. Whereas he's done a lot of high level scouting, high level like team specific stuff. So he really tries to get into these details as quickly as possible. I'm not worried about that because I have a whole game film to work with. So I'll typically let a couple plays go before I'll try to catch on to the pattern recognition. But as a player, these are habits that I would look for very quickly. But rather than try and diagnose wait, are they running a 1-3-1 or are they running a 2-3? That's a terrible example because that's very easy to tell. Are they blitzing screens or are they just hedging really hard? Rather than me try to decide, I would just be like, oh, they're aggressive off screen, so I need to get this ball out of my hands, or I need to attack the pick and roll aggressively, or I need to catch it on the second pick and roll. I would have different plans of attack. Sorry, but that's just from a player perspective. I'm probably just looking at how the players are playing and how they're guarding the leading scorer. From a coach perspective, I think the way he's talking is correct.
It's a completely different game if a team is flying up and down the court, scoring or shooting the ball early versus a team that comes down, calls a set, and tries to grind it out in the half court every possession. Because this one missed layup by the shooter who then falls on the ground triggers an opportunity for Wofford to take advantage in transition. They fly the ball up the court, and when they miss this shot at the rim, now Wichita State in return tries to take advantage in transition, and they push it straight down the court and try and score early before Wofford gets set up. So paying attention to the pace of the game is something a lot of people don't focus on, but it makes a big impact in the way that the game is played. The next thing to pay attention to are who are the main scorers from both teams. Now in a game like this, that could be as easy as a Google.
Again, I think he's not wrong. But again, you can look up, a lot of this information is given to you ahead of time. If you can say, who's the leading scorers? Who do we need to look out for? What type of offenses, defenses do they typically run? You can kind of know those things already. Again, that's why I like watching the way that I watch is I can watch any style of basketball, any league, anything, and I can pick up a lot of the habits and some of the context and nuances without knowing that prior information. But a lot of this stuff he's talking about, I think it's more efficient to get the information first and then be watching for it in the game.
We'll search to find out which guys from Wofford and
so he's saying that too.
Wichita State lead their team in scoring. But depending upon who leads their team or what the balance of the scoring is, could determine a lot about the flow of the game, how they're trying to get their best players open, and this can help you learn how players attack the game differently based on their roles. Now, this is the first action that we see during the game.
Told you. So he was going to say Princeton for down here, motion for the other guys.
That falls into one of those four categories. When the ball gets thrown here to the 5-man, that triggers Princeton action. And from here, the man who threw the ball in, or the point guard, can either cut over the top of the 5 and get into split actions down here, or he can get into splits with this near side wing number 11. And when I say splits, what I mean is that two players are going to come together, and typically one person will cut to the basket and one person will pop out in hopes that the defense will have two people go to one of them, leaving somebody else open, which is exactly what happens here.
And we've covered this a few times. I typically teach it one to the basket, one to the ball. Obviously, with that splits action, he could have gone, he could have kept running. Middle guy could have cut through, and that splits could have happened in the corner too. Just depends on what your team rules are, but a lot of things that can happen out of Princeton.
So now that they've run Princeton, pay attention to whether they do this more often. Another tip as you're watching basketball is pay attention to the head coaches. You can see Wichita State's coach signaling something right here, and so now the players will probably get into some formation and run a specific play that he just called.
Man, it's so funny. We watch this completely different. I really like this. This is why I love watching other people's content, especially ones that I kind of trust that they've done their homework. So the film room, we've watched tons and tons of videos of his. So I trust that he's done the work. So I can assume a lot of the stuff he's saying, I'm like, oh, that's a different, interesting perspective. I watch the player. I typically watch the point guard And you'll see, I don't know if you guys remember the video that I did long time ago on my main channel, but it was talking about the difference between Serbia's offense in the Olympics and Team USA's offense in the Olympics. And when you watch the point guards, Serbia is very quick to be like pointing out and talking all their stuff. Well, whereas Team USA is like, get the ball up, whoever's got it's got it. It's really funny to watch the differences, but I typically watch the point guard.
Then pay attention to whether they do this more often. Another tip is you're
because like I'm watching him like, oh, he's looking for a call, he's looking for something.
watching basketball is
So I look for the player and he's like, pay attention to the coach, he's calling a play. Interesting. It's just
attention to the head coaches. You can see Wichita State's coach signaling something right here, and so now the players will probably get into some formation and run a specific play that he just called. And what they end up doing is setting a cross screen right here to get the ball over to the wing, but as that's happening, I want you to pay attention down here underneath the basket because
is this gates or elevator screen?
most people wouldn't be looking here. Wichita State is about to set what's referred to as a rip screen, and some people would call it a diagonal or a back screen, with the intent of getting their post player to the block, and they executed this play perfectly because the big is open right here right now, and because he wasn't ready to throw the ball in, they missed an opportunity for an easy bucket. But the play is designed where after the rip screen, number one comes off of a down screen,
Gets a little closeout. Nice.
and he gets a bad closeout from his matchup, attacks the paint, and gets to the free throw line. Now pay attention to what you hear from the announcer because this is another tip as you're watching basketball.
Excellent foul shooter, just a shade under 84% on the year.
Oftentimes, announcers will tell you important information that helps you watch the game with a deeper understanding. Now here's something small that
Yeah, this is very good. I think this video, it's so funny because it seems kind of intuitive, but I think a lot of people, I'm going to go read the comments after this and just see if there's a lot of people that this kind of gives you some framework to watch film, because it does. It just breaks it down. Keep it simple. You're not trying to see everything at once. Just try to pick up on like some of these habits at a time, and you'd be surprised at how it will tell the story of how the game is going.
pay attention to. After this free throw, you're going to see Wichita State come out in a press. Now this could be a press where they're going to trap and try and force a turnover, or it could be what's called token pressure, which just means that they're going to make it look like they're trying to pressure the basketball, but they're just going to turn him a few times before he gets to half court. So it ended up just being token pressure, but I want you to pay attention to what Wofford does right here. After this dribble handoff, they're going to swing the ball to the top, and they get into the
Princeton action again.
exact same action that we saw the last possession in that Princeton
This looks like a flare screen this time. So they're still getting into their splits, but he started moving really quickly, like beforehand. So this must have been a call from the side. This looks like it's going to be a flare screen. He'll probably empty out.
in formation. And what they did was send the point guard over the top of number 11 while he set a flare screen and then slipped to the basket. And if you remember, both defenders went with the slip, which opened up the wide open catch and shoot three. So let's see if they run the same action again. So they tried the
Oh, nothing. I was completely wrong. I thought they were looking for just to set a different option that time.
same concept again, and Wichita State did a better job of guarding it, and now Wofford's going to have to find a different way to gain an advantage. Eventually, they free up a shooter with a flare screen, and I want you to pay attention to our two keys from earlier. Nobody contests the jump shot, and then you need to get your eyes right down in here to see if Wofford's going to attack the offensive glass or not.
Again, this is very interesting. He looks at all of these from a team standpoint, and I look at it all from a player standpoint. I don't know. It's just so, it's interesting to me. And maybe again, because I was always more of a player than coach, but just like I see this shot and I see, oh, number 20 is not going out and contesting shots. And then when I watch the box outs too, I'll be like, oh, this guy doesn't box out. He does box out.
Then you
here,
need
but
to get your eyes
I just look at everyone individually.
right down in here to see if Wofford's going to attack the offensive glass or not. Now, in transition, pay attention to how Wichita State gets into an early drag
So drag screen. Wonder what they do backside.
ball screen. This is a way for teams to get into an early pick and roll where the guard can attack space. They can have a big rolling, and then they're going to have their other three players on the perimeter out here, giving room for the guard to make a read.
And remember, whenever I was breaking down that motion the other day, the guy that was talking about the 5-out motion, I just talk about two-man game. You know what? Let's all get our pins out. That's what we're doing. So I always talk about like a two-man game, and then you've got your three-man game over here. honestly, I just think that's what motion is nowadays. It's just 2-man game, 3-man game, 2-man game, 3-man game. Then it's like, how efficiently can you and seamlessly can you get those two working together? And then how many options can you have out of those? Like, then can individualized reads for individualized players.
Now, what the guard does here is
They've actually been calling this a lot this year. I don't know, in women's college basketball, they've been calling this a ton, but this Gortat
for the
screen,
guard to make a read.
they've been calling this a ton. Brigading, what else is it called in I can't remember what it's called in FIBA.
Now, what the guard does here is what's referred to as rejecting a ball screen. So as the screen is coming from his left, his defender is influenced that direction, so he crosses back over to the baseline and gets downhill, which is a great option in pick and roll. Now, this next possession I'm going to let play full speed, but what you're going to see is the way that teams flow offensively when there's no set called. You'll see everything from ball screens to dribble handoffs to guys going to set screens away and rejecting them. You'll see the ball get reversed to multiple sides of the court, but Wofford never gains an advantage and ends up settling for this heavily contested jump shot. But if you watch right down here, number 20 from Wichita State pushes in the back on the rebound and gets called for a foul. As Wofford takes the ball baseline out of bounds, pay attention to the defense. WSU gets into a 2-3 zone rather than playing man, and Wofford does a great job of running a zone play that gets a wide open three because the outside man of the zone was guarding the ball, and so now the middle man is the person who has to run all the way
It's a zone man. What were they?
to the corner to defend this jump shot. And hopefully by now you're paying attention to the contest on the shot and the rebound battle, which you can clearly see a push in the back from WSU, and this is a bad miss by the officials because this push not only leads to a rebound, but now WSU has what's referred to as a 5-on-4 advantage. And this is a great transition opportunity for WSU, but number 11 from Wofford makes a great play getting this 50-50 ball back, and what could have been an unfortunate situation turns in their favor because of the great effort. So on the next possession, Wofford gives a little bit of token pressure, but Coach Mills from Wichita State is going to call an action, and this is designed to get an isolation situation for their 7'3" big man. And this is a very simple play that's just designed to get the post player here so that they can throw it over the top because they're in an alignment where nobody is behind him to help, and because he has such a height advantage, they throw it in and get a foul. So for the Shockers baseline out of bounds play, Wofford stays in man-to-man, and here's the play that WSU is going to run. They're going to tight curl this man to the...
So I will say, I haven't been stopping everything because this is actually a lot more. I do think there's a lot of you out there that are going to start getting lost around this point, but mainly because it's like, how much information are you needing to retain and watch? And a lot of it goes to your coaching philosophy. So I've said this a lot, but FIBA does a really good job of their rules kind of fall in line with like their style of play, and it promotes a specific style, and you get specific outcomes. So a lot of things you don't need to, like I said, a lot of things you don't need to break down. Not saying you don't need to, but when he was talking about like the zone, are they running a zone or a man out of bounds? Well, I think it was this past Olympics, maybe it was the previous Olympics. So not this last year, but the previous year. They did the stats for baseline out of bounds plays, and the amount of times you scored in a baseline out of bounds play was lower than scoring out of your half court offense. So what the Australian national team had gone to was, let's just get the ball inbounds and then run a set or run our half court offense. So you can spend less time thinking about, are they in a zone or a man? What type of baseline out of bounds play do we want to run against a zone? What type do we run against a man? It just gives you more options you have to be ready for. But if your coaching style just slims down to like, what are our strengths? What's our weaknesses? Let's focus on those, and let's have options that, let's just play our percentages. You can just run a baseline out of bounds that gets the ball in. You can have it can have a couple quick looks, but you can almost run the same baseline out of bounds play all the time, but just have 3 or 4 options that they have to guard, they have to defend. But really, we're just trying to get the ball in, get it to our best player, go one-on-one, or get it to our best player, and then or our best passer throws it in, our best catcher or receiver gets the ball, we get into an offense and we go try to score from there. So that's one way I look at it, where I'm like, I don't really care what teams run baseline out of bounds. It's just another thing to prepare for that I'd rather put that time into something else. So this is 2 instances where I just like, I don't really care what they're in, because decently competent teams should not be giving up layups in these. Like, they gave up a wide open 3 because the defender was in the wrong spot and he messed up. So like, you might as well just run a play that you run all the time anyways, because if they mess up, like, you're still going to get an open shot. It wasn't the play that worked. So anyways, all that to say, sometimes your coaching style and the things you teach your players will help you with making a lot of these decisions on the fly. You don't have to really focus on them or scout them.
Bucket, and then eventually they're going to run their best player off of a double stagger to the corner, trying to free him up for a shot or a drive, and they end up not getting anything out of it. Now, the three-pointer you're about to see taken right here is from Gray, who is Wichita State's second leading scorer, and while he has a tendency to take and make difficult shots, with 17 seconds left on the shot clock, this is not a great time to do that. So Wofford gets a great contest, and they do a good job of boxing out. As they push the ball down in transition, pay attention to what they get into. After some ball movement, they get back into their Princeton action where they're going to run 2-man game right here with splits. Now the difference is they set a down screen and reject it and then go into a dribble handoff to gain an advantage. They don't get anything out of it, so they work back to the same Princeton catch.
So they have yet to get into like their 2-man and 3-man game, 2-man game, 3-man game. So their efficiency in getting into that next action is just not very good, is what I've noticed so far. So remember we talked about those habits. I was watching the Duke scrimmage and I'm like, oh, it's just the Boozer show. It just shows you like team tendencies. And it's like, okay, majority of my focus defensively against Wofford at the moment would just be like, if we can defend the first action of their Princeton, we should be fine, because they're not getting anything out of their second, third actions.
But now they're going to go over the top, which we haven't seen yet. As they go into this split action, the screener is going to slip to the basket, and that opens up this sequence, which happens all the time in basketball. When somebody gets downhill off of a drive or a slip, that's going to force the defense to rotate. And as soon as they do that, now this man is...
So this is their first advantage.
Going to force
4 minutes in.
Rotate again to him, and that's going to open up this one more pass to the wing. And this is the rhythm shot that offenses...
Hell of a contest.
...are trying to produce, but WSU does a phenomenal job of scrambling and getting a great contest. And then on the rebound, there was a foul called on Wofford, and I still don't understand.
Oh, he's grabbing his shorts.
A great contest. And then on the rebound, there was a foul called on Wofford.
Yeah, you can see he's got his shorts.
And I still don't understand who they called it on or why. Now on this next possession, this is why you always have to be paying attention.
1-through-1.
For the first time, Wofford gets...
And again, this is why I like watching the point guards. So he's just walking the ball up, and what's happened every time? He's been pressured, and he's walked it up. So I'm like, okay, they're probably calling a play because he's walking it up. And then they're in a man because he's defending matched up. But now, like, because I'm paying attention to the point guards,
this next possession,
I'm like, oh, he's picking him up at the logo. And then you can start to see everyone else like, oh, they're in his zone.
This is why you always have to be paying attention. For the first time, Wofford gets into a zone defensively. They come out in a 1-3-1, and I'm assuming they did that just to break the rhythm of Wichita State and try and steal a possession. Now, when it comes to a 1-3-1, offensively, you're trying to get the ball below the 3 players in the middle. And defensively, you don't want the ball to get down there because your solo defender who's at the bottom of the zone is very vulnerable if the ball can get down there, which is exactly what happens, and it leads to a tip-in for Wichita State. Now, this last action that you're gonna see from Wofford starts with a 3-man action that's typically referred to as away, where they're gonna set a down screen, but this player number...
This is our play.
4 is going to reject it to the basket intentionally so that they can throw the ball to the 5-man and get into what's referred to as zoom. This is another Princeton concept, but what it means is you're going to set a down screen and then go into a dribble handoff. And this forced the defense to switch, which allowed number 4 to get downhill. But because of the block, Wichita State got an early rebound, and with number 4 falling on the ground, it's another 5-on-4 advantage transition situation, and we'll see what what they do with it. Now, one of the #1 keys in basketball is if you ever make 2 people guard 1, you have to find the open man and get off the ball. So this should have been an easy pass to the cutter for a dunk, but unfortunately he over-dribbled it and squandered that transition opportunity.
Again, this is why I'm looking at the player more than the team. And I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying you've got to be. I think when you go watch film, one thing he's missed so far, he might talk about it at the end. I just think when you're watching game film, oh, it's about to be over, so I'll see what he says, and then I'll come back to that point.
The way that you watch basketball can drastically improve your IQ if you're looking at the right things. So my hope is that during this video, there was something that stood out to you that you haven't noticed before, or maybe there were elements of the game that you didn't even know existed until watching this video. My ultimate goal is always to explain this game in a way that you can appreciate it more because you understand it on a deeper level, and I hope that that was accomplished somewhere in this video. If you have any...
So what I was going to say, he kind of said it in a roundabout way. I always tell people when you're watching game film, you need to have a goal. Like, why are you watching it? So he kind of broke it down as like a coach scouting, more so like if you're scouting for, actually, I don't really know, because he was scouting both teams and scouting multiple things. And we look at different stuff. And I think every coach is going to have their specific things they look for. But like I said, I'm far more on the player development side and the individual focus side, because I feel like I can relay that information to an individual and then they can fix those problems. But also coaches can see those considerations. They can see those, me pointing out those things and go, oh, that's something I can point out to my teams. I can utilize that for my team. I think when we're talking about, he was talking about how do you watch film, it was more like a scouting thing. So if you're scouting a team, that's probably, is that Avery Johnson? There's kind of, I don't know, I just guess. There's very specific things you're probably looking for. Each assistant coach that's breaking down film probably has their own thing, like offensive rebounds and whatever. You can get as detailed as you want, but again, as one person, how much can you retain and how much can you pick up on the fly? And when you're watching film, watching a game, you don't want it to be a job all the time. Sometimes you want to enjoy it. I enjoy just watching basketball and then thinking like, oh, what would I do here? What are they going to do next? Oh, he can't guard this, so I'd put him in a pick and roll, and then we'd flip. Like, I like coming up with those little playing those little games by myself and like trying to predict who's going to win the game based off of like what I'm seeing within the first few minutes and trends and whatever. And asking a lot of questions like, what would I do in this scenario? Like if a coach calls a timeout with 5 seconds left dribbling up the court, I'm like, ooh, would I have called the timeout or would I have not? So I think that's a fun way to watch it. I think watching film the way he is and the way he explained it, it's good. It's really good for people that don't know what they're looking for. He pointed out a bunch of things that you can, like a good starting point. Once you understand those things, I think those are the building blocks. I think then start understanding like, why are you watching film? What are you looking for? And also think about what he just did. This was a 12-minute video by him. This has turned into a 27-minute video by me, 4 minutes of game film. So if you're really watching film and you're really trying to understand what's happening on the court, there's no point breaking down a full film. Typically you can see, and I always say this whenever I'm watching film of a player that I'm working with, I don't need to see your whole game film. I just need to see like the first 5 minutes, and I can see your habits and see some things that the things you need to work on. Very rarely does a team or a player just completely change their whole game style halfway through a game. Like it's whatever you see at the beginning, you're going to be seeing at the end. So that's why I try to keep my film sessions to 3 minutes or 4 minutes of game film, typically 3 if I can. And that's going to turn into 12, 15 minutes of talking and communicating. And that's it. I would not try to break down more film than that for players. They just won't retain it. And honestly, 10 minutes is probably all you're going to keep young kids locked in for. So find 3 minutes of film that you want to talk about, break down those 3 minutes, get off of that, get out, move on, do some more film the next day. So yeah, this was good. Go follow, go like, subscribe to Film Room. Sorry that this was a 30-minute video of a 12-minute video of 4 minutes of video. It's video Film Roomception, but we got there in the end. So thank you guys. Thanks for sending it through, and I'll see you guys in